Today I want to take the whole bug drawing idea and show you a way that you can then infuse something else into this. And this is something that you can do for any kind of, I guess, design composition. We often travel on one track and practice one item, and then we are happy with that, but we don't really do much with that. The using the bug the way it is on the bookmarks was one idea, so you've taken the bugs and done one application. And this time we're going to take the bug, but we are going to remove the bugs patterns and we are going to put in our own patterns on the bug. So I'll just share the images and I'll speak about the bugs. These are the few that I wanted to start off with. But later on, if time permits, I'm going to share some other images which will also be very inspiring. So most bugs have these very nice patterns already. This almost looks like one of those leopard, tiger prints or something. So imagine if we were to convert these lines into something else, how this might look. So this is where you take something that exists and add a what if and why not. So what if could be like in this case. What if we were to make like a checkerboard pattern over here? This is not exactly a checkerboard, but imagine what if we would just convert this into like a chessboard. How would that look? And we never know the outcome until we try it. So we are going to use this bug as I guess an inspiration just for shape, and then we are going to create like a checkerboard on its back. So we are taking this, we are not going to copy it exactly the way it is, because obviously this is one artist's interpretation. I think it also has something that looks like some Chinese characters, Japanese characters on it, which if we don't know, you don't want to mess with because you don't want to write the wrong thing.
This is a real no, a real bug.
This
No.
is a real bug, but it has got it's got these patches which I think are applied from top.
Oh, really? Okay.
If bugs started becoming this pretty, I
Yeah,
think half the world will not be scared of them.
and they won't be alive.
That's true.
That's the problem.
Now
Oh
this
my
one
goodness. Yeah, this one has
definitely
got
has a
that.
print, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you look a little closer, it might be that maybe the bug is not actually a bug, but it is made from machine parts that have
My
been
goodness.
bent to suit the shape. So once you start looking at it that way, you might see that it's not really a bug at all. But they have used the same thing. They have taken the idea that all bugs have got some pattern, and then they would take something that has a pattern and then convert that into a bug. So we're going to do something like that. These are all real bugs, and you can use these for the shape or proportions, and then use all sorts of other patterns like this, maybe this, and this on the backs. That's what we're going to try to do today. So we're going to start off with something really simple and then see how much more complicated we can make it. By now, I think all of you are very comfortable with making just the body of the bug, right? That's not going to be a problem. Okay, so just choose, oh, 1 minute. I need to send these pictures to Kiara, I think, right?
I think because I don't think I've gotten them on the other group.
No, they're not on the other group. All right. Okay, so let's take the bug, the bug with that diamond in the center. I'll show you which one. This one. And redraw this. This time we are not really focusing too much on the accuracy of the shapes, but somewhere 19 20 is good enough. So to start off, always start with the smaller part that you see. We'll make the bugs about this big, not too big either. So that's maybe the size of your finger, not bigger than that. And start off with making first just a small horizontal line for where the head would come, or the shoulder part. Turn it from both sides. Take 2 lines upward and then join them. Then make a wavy V shape, which is like an S shape down here, like this. And pull that line straight down. And don't make it too long. If you feel you want to measure it, just use your eyes to measure in proportion to the bottom of the V and the top of this part, not the head part, this part that we've drawn. How much bigger should it be? I think it's about close to 2 times this size. And from here, just make like an inverted Y shape, which is curved slightly. Pull out 2 lines from the side. And now before you make the curve, make a line in the air so you can see the curve even in the blank, on the blank paper. Then we have a shape like this for the head with eyes on the side. And don't make the antenna right now. We'll just stick with this and we'll take a call on what shape we want to make for the rest of the appendages. Alright. Okay, now this shape gives us some idea, or at least some guidance, the V shape. So we could convert this itself into part of our design. So it might not look like a checkerboard, but it might look like the Harlequin print, which is not lines meeting on the perpendicular, but at about 60 degrees to 75 degree angles. We already have this angle here, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Using this line, we can just extend a line further. And we start getting some kind of idea of how we want the pattern to proceed. Don't rush into making the pattern. Look for cues within your existing lines to make the pattern make sense for you. Once these lines are extended, you can consider all the options also. We could just make more lines parallel on each side, so that becomes one design option. You could make a big diamond shape and then fill this up with dots or something. So use this as a base for all sorts of explorations. I'm going to now make a line from these 2 edges parallel to the first line we've made. Make these lines really light because we are still just exploring the idea. Once we make this, we have got the 2 things that we really need to explore the lines. We have an angle and we have a direction. These are the first 2 things that you need to ask any line that you're drawing. How long do you want to be and which direction are you headed? Now the third thing that we also have is the distance between the lines. It's just determined by this V shape already. So now we can make parallel lines. Look for parallels at some place where you can see both lines. Don't make lines over here on the curved edge because it doesn't give us a true distance. Look for these lines here and draw a line perpendicular, very light, to get the right distance, and then extend that on the top. And you'll see a few things happen quite magically if you're doing it right. All the lines will intersect on the center line automatically. Our lines right now can be a little wishy-washy because obviously we're drawing this by hand. It's not very mechanical, but definitely look for some consistency or some predictability. The one difference between most patterns that you find in nature versus most patterns that humans make is predictable pattern and a certain thought behind a particular design. So as the line curves, you will notice that there's a gap between these two lines, which is very natural. And once you've drawn this whole pattern, you can refine it. Make sure that these lines are straight. And indeed, they are parallel. Now, for the sake of the design, we can also extend this to the top, like there is a diamond shape on this entire shoulder in our reference image. And where in this place where I've got these two lines coming, I can bring them into the same spot on both wings. And here I can make that part that's inside, that's hidden, the bottom of the body. So all these lines look like they are all connecting. So the best way to check whether your lines are correct or not is keep rotating the book. The more you rotate, the more you'll see there are some inconsistencies which you can keep correcting. And this time you can use the eraser to remove the lines that you're unhappy with, otherwise they will confuse you. Once your design is done, we can roll the eraser on top and lighten everything. And first we can paint this part before we draw the limbs at all.
Aditi,
Yeah.
I don't see the image clearly. Is this a camera angle issue? Like, can this be fixed?
One second, let me just see if I can change it. So when my hand comes here, everything blurs up. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. Okay, so for painting, here we are going to do a little bit of manipulation to make this, what might look like a very artificial bug, look a little more natural and throw the viewer off a little bit. And for this, we need to create a little shadow. And I'm going to show you how to create these shadows. This is like a hidden superpower. If you know how to make very subtle shadows in your paintings, you will be able to make absolutely any object look three-dimensional. You will have some colors in your kit. If there is a black or a brown next to a blue, you can create this gray shade that I often make. This is a very light gray made from black with any other color. It can also be black with brown or brown with blue. So there are multiple shades of this gray. You can make it with this bunch, black with burnt or raw umber. There could be a little orange. So all these, when they're mixed with black, become a gray shade. Any of these you can make very watery. And using a fat brush, I want to show you how light the color is. I'm making a swatch here. It's only this light and this watery. And I want you to watch what I do. Don't do this with me, but it's important to see how I do it. I'm going to put a shadow on the right side like we see in our reference image, but I'm going to turn my book around because only Elaine will be able to do it right side up. So I'm going to point the tip of my brush to the edge of the bug. That's very important because this side I'm going to get a nice sharp edge. And I'm going to press the brush down like this so that, I'm going to press it down and pull it up. So I'm going to get a sharp edge on one side and a very wishy-washy edge in the middle because the middle of the brush has no specific point where it has to apply paint. Once I do this, there's a chance that I might see a very sharp or dark edge over here as well. In that case, I will wash my brush or use a separate damp brush and just run it along the edge. It's damp, it's not wet. So you need to keep your rag handy as well. You have to do this and you just pull up the extra color. Okay, so we are going to do this a bunch of times today, and this is only an underlayer. So if you are not getting it, don't fret too much. By the end of today, you will get it. Okay, I'm going to do this. Please watch it, and then you can do it yourselves. Do not overpaint. Whatever stroke you make, it's going to be very light. It's not going to matter, but if you keep fiddling with it, it's going to start becoming dark. And it's not a big deal. You'll be able to do it. All right, so I'm touching the side of the left wing and I'm just pulling it upward and lifting the brush. So you can see I've got a nice sharp edge here. I have also got a sharp edge over on the bottom. So I'm taking this brush, I've washed it, I've made sure it's just damp and I'm spreading this color to the bottom. I don't need to do anything over here because this is light enough. Now I can take the same color, I'm doing one more on the top. So I'm going to move the brush like this. And essentially I can do this all over the bug wherever I want. Shadow. It needs to be very light. So here's another one. This is from after wiping the brush. And you can see that already I'm getting a sense of dimension. So the place where it's become dark over here on top, I wipe the brush and I'm just pulling it across the edge. If it merges, great. If it doesn't, let it be. Okay, now do it. I'm giving you 1 minute to do it. If you're not done in 1 minute, that means you're overdoing it. Either overdoing it or overthinking it. So long as your color is light, we have nothing to worry about. And in case your color becomes too dark, still don't worry about it. This is an imaginary insect, imaginary design. We will manipulate the colors so that it does not look bad. And breathe through it. Okay, everyone should be done by now. Done? Okay. Now, on the left side, obviously, it is highlit. So we will identify at least one section, maybe like an oval section, where we will maintain some highlight. So I made it very light. It's in about this section. It's like a teardrop shape over here. If you have something light here, you can also keep some teardrop shape over here. All this is going to be white anyway, so you don't have to color this part. You can keep a little teardrop shape on the top or on the head, which is going to be black or blue. Now the harlequin pattern, we can make in any color we want, and I'm going to suggest we make it a blue shade because that allows us to then put some shadows in black to create more depth. You can choose any blue you want. A cobalt blue is good enough. I have a blue over here already, so I'm just adding cobalt to that. This blue was made using, I think, cerulean and emerald. Okay, now the first thing you do is to paint that patch in the neck black. I'm using a thin brush for this, this is a 0 number brush. So here's another tip in case you are still becoming comfortable with watercolor. My technique for keeping the color fresh is to take color from the cake, check its consistency on the palette, paint, and then go back into the cake and keep replenishing the color on the palette. Once in a while, there's enough in the palette so you can keep painting, but it's good to keep adding a little more color, just at least on the side, so that the color, the tone remains fresh, and you can always ensure that the consistency of the paint also is uniform throughout. Now here, remember, the edges were a little wobbly. I'm going to maintain that wobble. And our paint, now blue is a very dark color, so our shadow over there looks like it's hidden. Don't worry about that. And now carefully paint all the sections, but when you're painting, remember some sections are going to have a little bit of that highlight. So first identify those sections and paint those off so that you don't have to then worry about missing it. This is one thing that I find can be a little annoying. Getting the lines exact. Drawing lines with a paintbrush can be a very harrowing experience. So the only way you can master this is actually sit and practice drawing with the brush. Just like we do our pencil yoga, practice making lines or draw stuff, like draw this entire thing just using a brush. You will not get the same results as you would with a pencil or a pen, but you are not looking for the same results anyway. Alright, once this row is done, we have to skip one row of diamonds and paint next to that. And for those of you who are unsure about your lines, I suggest first make the line a little inside the diamond. Don't make it on the edge. And then extend that line further. Like for example, this is how I can show you. Here's the line, but you are not sure whether you will make it or not. Just paint a little inside and then extend it outward. Now when you're painting all these diamonds which are separated, there is going to be a little bit of inconsistency in how they finally get rendered. But that will make the picture look charming. In order to make it look flat and uniform, don't go over painting. And definitely do not paint when the previous color is still wet. Ideally, when you have to paint a harlequin pattern, don't uh, don't draw lines which cross each other. So don't draw all the blue lines like that and then paint inside, because these diamonds are equal shaped and they just touch each other on the tip. Okay, I'm coming now to the left where again I have to keep some space for that highlight. Usually, when we make these mistakes, they happen because we are nervous about something completely different. You might be nervous about drawing the line properly or coloring properly, and in that process, because you're so involved in that, you might color over those sections which are meant to be left for the highlight. Now my right side has got some extra shapes. Just one. All the shadows that we had made now look like they have disappeared under this color. But what we would not be able to do is make this sweeping color of gray even in the white sections. That's why it's important to make the undertones first. Now, in order to reinforce these shadows, I would also consider making a lighter shade of gray. You guys don't make it, but I just want to show you, and we could have done this earlier. The highlights are not very visible. So I have made a cream color. Let me first test it out here. And this would be too dark, but this might look interesting. So this is, in the gray I have used yellow ochre, and if I were to paint around my diamond shape in this color, I can just leave it like this so the highlight pops out. So this is yellow ochre mixed to this gray, and the same color can be used on certain white parts, like just the edges. Very carefully. To make this even more I guess contrast, add the contrast, you can also go ahead and paint the blank white with this color, but we don't need to do that right now. We can paint it later maybe. Let's use the blue color to also paint the triangle on the head neck area. And I'm leaving a little gap between these two sections. I've not drawn it, but in painting I want to leave it first. If it doesn't look too odd, I'd like to keep that little space. And let's use the same color for the head as well. So that little shine on the head and the shadow on the neck part and the shadow over here is creating that depth for us, which is good enough. Now we can use maybe even a scarlet and maybe give it a little scarlet over here in that V-shaped butt area that we've left out. So in any design you need something which will allow the eye to flow. So there are colors which are related to each other, so they allow for a very smooth flow, and then there are colors which are contrasting with the existing colors, which draw attention in a sharp look towards it, and then direct the eye towards the rest of the painting through this angle, through this point, and then you have this continuous flow of the eye. That is what makes a composition arresting. Alright, now taking a cue from our reference image, we could consider making a few dots on these also. So let's use that scarlet again and make oval shapes right in the center. Oval because that oval will create the illusion of the wings being rounded. If we make them circular, then they don't really look very rounded. Another thing I have found is the problem of color combination. How many colors do you take and how do you choose the combinations? And the only thing I can say for that is you have to just keep making different pieces of art and arrive at some colors that you feel you really enjoy. Okay, I'm making two slightly larger ovals, tilted a little towards the center deliberately. These are on the side of the triangle on top, and then I have two smaller sort of ovals directing the eye towards the head. Okay, now that this is done, the body is ready, and now we can see how this design almost looks like it could be one of those one minute, I'm going to share a picture and then you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is something that everyone will be pretty familiar with now. And since our beetle is now looking like it could be in the same area of aesthetic as something like a jester, we can now choose things like these elements, like maybe pants like these for the legs, and also all these weird shoes which are hand stitched shoes or something like this, or maybe a ruff like the collars. You could also consider putting bells. So this is how you merge two ideas and you can create something that becomes unique. So we know that we have to make 6 limbs on this chap, and we of course can't make big legs or something, that'll look really bizarre. So let's make the top pair of limbs like this, which is just a short L shape. Do they come up or do they go down? I think they go both ways, but let me see what we have in our reference image. Yeah, we have one set going up and then 2 sets coming down. So we just draw the structural lines first. These come closer to the body, I don't think they go that far. And then we have these coming down. So they are in 2 parts, at least 2 pairs of legs. You have a long and short, long projections, and then short part coming into the body, short part leaving the body for the middle legs, and long part outside. And instead of making all those scratchy looking legs, we can maybe give him something that looks like pants right here and here. And over here we can create the same kind of scratchy look, but we can make it look a little more elegant, almost like it's wearing bell bots with some frills on it. So we stay close to how the insect's legs should be, but we are taking a few liberties. Again, some nice bulbous, almost like sleeves on top. And this time we can give it some stripy legs on top. Again, we can create that those thorny edges. And from the eyes outward, we can create what could look like no, this is the other way around. This looks like cockroaches. Sorry. I hate that. We can make something like bells hang out. But instead of making the antenna fat near the eyes, it already has these very nice sections, like teardrop segments. They look very nice as well. We don't have to be worried about its structural integrity because it's a picture. We have to just make it look aesthetically pretty. So now we have a little bit of this gold color, which was yellow ochre, and I'm thinking I'd like to make these pants with little bits of yellow ochre in them. So this was called something. These pants, we learned it in fashion history. They've all got really cute names. I'll tell you what it's called.
Are these the kind that Elizabethan English used to have inside? The men used to have these beautiful not cut out. They were kind of a pleat that was inside, which showed when it opened up.
Yeah, there was a slit in these. I'll tell you what they're called. But not Elizabethan. These were much older.
Henry VIII used to wear these big fat
Yeah,
pants, the
correct.
bloomers with cut things. They were all of them used to have these clocks. I don't know what they used to call.
Yeah. Let me tell you. Oh,
Do you type in to look for that? I wouldn't even know what to type.
yeah, I don't. So, I'll tell you. Give me, give me a moment. While we finish our painting, I'll find it for you because they had really cute names. Anyway, so this is done. We can make the pants blue, or we can make them black, or you can make them gold also. So here now my color has dried. I'm making these red and gold. So they look almost like seeds. And we can make different colored legs also. Each pair can be different. This one I'm going to make blue. It'll help if we have one more part to the leg. But the thing about creating your own designs is when making these explorations, I recommend trying out a few things and um, don't draw everything all at once. Like there are three sections to these legs, but I've not drawn those three sections. I've interpreted or reinterpreted only two of the sections, and it looks fine, so I don't have to make that foot. I think on the top as well, I can make red sleeves. And I'm gonna stick to blue because I'm just being very conservative after all this chatak. Do remember when you're painting, you should always be able to see the edge that you're painting. Do not let your brush go over the edge that you're painting if you can help it. So, this is how you would find designers exploring ideas for anime characters or for emblems. And at the very least, this is a very lovely creative exercise with limited liability, I would say, because it's a small picture. You stick close to the uh, I'm very tempted to say close to the shore, because you're using many of the cues that are already there in your reference image and just expanding them. So, in a way, this is like stylizing. After the limbs are done, I think most of it has been painted. Now we can add the final contrast by using black. So far we had not used black at all, because you don't want any pigments over here which can interfere with the lighter colors or with your coloring in itself. So I'm making the eyes, but even in the eyes I will keep that tiny highlight. Don't ever paint the eyes fully. This is like a personal challenge I take on to myself. It's like, show me how little the insect is and I will keep a white of the eye, or not white, the highlight of the eye visible. It still makes the insect look a little more alive. And now for the last part, I just want to show you. In some places, I'm going to take the thin brush with very little black in it. And I want to show you how little it is. So I'm going to start off with a line that's pretty bold, wipe, and it starts reducing. You'll notice how much paint we have in our brush, and we still keep dipping. So I'm not only losing color, but I'm also losing hydration. So at some point, I just have to hydrate my brush and I get a black color. It's not the gray, it's pretty black. It's a concentrated line. And that line I'm going to make just over here underneath the neck. Now this is creating shadows, but from the top. This is an overlay. And use the same one, very thin line, very light paint, to make the separation between the wings. If you find this to be a challenge, use a pencil to do this, make this line. You don't have to make the dark lines in paint. So you could use a pencil and you could shade in a few areas also to add. I'm just shading over here so you can see that the pencil is, even after watercolor, a legitimate shading tool. You can create shadows on the side. This is again just a demo, you don't have to do it, but I want you to see how we can use pencils effectively. A few shadows will also come onto the legs. So a shadow over here. They're very subtle, but they make the object look three-dimensional. And a little bit underneath the wings on the red part. I'm making the teardrop shaped antenna also in the same black color. And as my brush goes higher and higher, I'm reducing the size of the teardrops. And I'm just too kicked about that little bell on top, so I am going to make that bell. It may be ill advised, but if you guys want to, let me make that and see if you like it, and then you guys can make it as well. So the pencil line, the gray pencil line, is an excellent border when you want a border but you don't really want the a dark border. The gray of the pencil line can be like, we always think of it as just a temporary line, but it can be a great line to create that hazy boundary for your color. Right, so I have again made a highlight on these bells, and on the opposite side of the highlight, this is just me being me. I will take a thin brush and put a little bit of yellow ochre on the opposite side of the highlight so that it looks a little three-dimensional. And that's it. Our harlequin bug is ready. So these are the kinds of designs that you can make on bags, on t-shirts, on even just a pouch for yourself, or paint this on a little piece of fabric that you might cut from some old pants or something, convert that into a keychain. So what we don't realize is that paper is not the only place where we can make designs, and then when we come to things like cloth, we don't know what designs to make. You can do absolutely any of this on cloth as well. Most of the excuse me, most of the colors that we have painted are flat, so we don't have to make those washes. So this is an easy thing to make um, onto a bag. And such quirky designs uh, should have a quirky place to be used as well. The one thing I wish I had done was give a little bit of shadow around the bug as well. I usually like to do that, but it's okay. All right, now we still have time and we can make one more bug. And this time round we can put this fleur-de-lis on it. This is a very simple design, very simple pattern, and if you think about it, it is almost in the same order as the harlequin design that we've already made. So you make the diamond shapes and you fill them with this fleur-de-lis design. We can use one of the beetles that I've shared, one of these maybe, sorry. So you can have a fleur-de-lis on this side and on this side, or just one big giant fleur-de-lis in the center. And I'm also going to share one more image with you, which is just absolutely beautiful. That will give you all sorts of ideas. So this is like blue pottery design. Obviously, this is not a bug. This is a ceramic piece and probably pretty large also, going by how thin the thinnest line is. It's not a very tiny piece. But here you see that the shapes have not been changed, only the color has changed and the texture, the print and the pattern. So this gives you ideas about what more you could do. Maintain the shape of the bug and change that. So we can also go to something like this and create patterns like these. So what I'm going to do is one by one just pencil some designs with you. You can follow me, you can do your own, and then whenever you get time you can sit and do the coloring. I'm just taking a very simple shape from the beetles that we have. Maybe I can do the one on the right, the top right. I start all of them from that what I think is called the thorax section, because it's a medium size, manageable. We can manage to draw it from both sides. We can manage to draw both sides of the insect after you draw this medium size thing, and it also gives us some guidance about how to draw the rest of the body. Whenever you have a challenge uh, to make a particular pattern or a design that you're unfamiliar with, always make it in rough first. So in this case, that fleur-de-lis design does look pretty complicated, but if you think about it, it is just a straight line with a band at the bottom and two C's. This is the basic structure. Once you have this structure, it'll be very easy to build on that. You increase the thickness of the band and add more lines to these C shapes. Then it's an S shape here. This, by the way, is something that I discovered last year when we did that rose mulling design, that practically all the complicated designs in the world are made from a C shape and an S shape. Sorry, this should do it. So to keep matters simple, we can make a version of this in the center itself. We already have the center line. So we can make this here maybe you can draw the C shape from one side here, one side here, and make it only as big as the design fits, huh? Don't make it too large. Usually when I make these lines, these are like the structural lines, so they would be in the center of that shape. So I would make the shape around it. And because again this is a symmetric design, make tiny shapes on both sides at the same time. So you can keep an eye on the quality of each of those lines. How slanted they are, how straight they are, how much distance you have between certain elements of that particular feature. And always turn the design upside down to check on curves. What you see from one angle, you do not necessarily see the same thing from the other angle. So it always helps to look at your picture from all perspectives. Okay, now here's something that I want to show you. My head obviously looks like it's on one side over here. If I were to draw a line straight from here and then a line from here, it seems to be different. This is the more complicated design. So I should not erase this once I have drawn it. I can easily shift my head a little to the right and centralize the design. This will again help not have to erase too much. Okay, once you're happy with the design, same process. We don't know how this design is going to look after it's painted and what kind of clothing you'd like to give your bug. So let's go by the same color. Let's make the base blue and keep the fleur-de-lis blank. And maybe for the collar, we could give it some stripes so it'll look like a ruff. These are radial stripes, so on the left the lines will be bending a little towards the left, and on the right they'll be bending a little to the right. So this will almost look like one of those French, what are they called? Guards. Again over here, I will definitely put a shadow. This time maybe I'll make a brown colored shadow. It needs to stand out. And here I'm going to deliberately blend it. So I want you to see this. I'm making this slightly darker because this has to be visible from underneath that blue color that we make. And I wipe the color off and I'm making the edge blurred a little bit because that fleur-de-lis also will be seen slightly shaded. And we'll leave this to dry and make the next design. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to catch up, and then I'll move to the next design. Because beyond this point, everything I'm sure you'll be able to figure out. So while you're painting, I wanted to ask you, next week is Diwali. So would you want to take the week off, or are you available for class?
I'm okay with the second. Is it second? Is it? No, sorry.
I just checked, the whole week from Monday to Saturday is supposed to be Diwali.
So
So I'm
Saturday is the
actually
main
traveling.
day, right? Sorry.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was wondering whether any of you are traveling or whether you'll be busy with just the Diwali thing.
Aditi, I'm traveling the whole of next week. So
Right.
yeah.
So, okay, then let's take the week off next week. And anyway, since I think, is it the fifth week? Have we finished 4 classes in
I
insects?
think so.
Yeah, so we can take a break. I think that would be nice. So nobody misses out. I know how much FOMO I had when I went to Goa. So I don't want that.
Yeah.
Good. Then, then that was just the announcement that I wanted to make. Okay, we can continue.
So
Okay, once this is done, we can move to the next bug. Now I'm taking the first insect that I've shared with you, this fellow, the one with the tiger stripes. It's got a slightly different structure. I think this should be nice, and we'll try making this design on it, but not the whole thing. I'm just going to take a few sections from this, like maybe this acanthus leaf and this nice swirl, so I can show you how to make these classical patterns as well. Now, if you want to make a complicated design, let's make a larger bug. We don't want it to be too tiny, then it just becomes painful for everyone. So this time, this will be like a bug from our nightmares. Start off with a triangular shape for this thorax. It's not flat and comes down almost in like a diamond shape. Then we have a line going through the center, and this fellow just bulging on the sides like shoulder muscles, a little bump on the sides. Yeah, I think this should be fine. So here, if we want to imitate the pattern of this bug itself, we have all these lines coming inward, or we have golden lines going outward. So we can look for some patterns in that acanthus grill pattern, swirl pattern, and try to imitate the same. Like over here, we can create a burst. I've drawn 3 lines over here in the center, and these can be converted into shapes like these. So the acanthus leaf is just a leaf which has a very peculiar sedation, but I'm converting it into something that will resemble marigold. The acanthus leaf has a very interesting history. It was introduced into art and architecture by a Greek architect who came across an acanthus leaf growing out of a cornucopia. So, what one imagines is a cornucopia is a basket which is like this. I'm sure you must have seen it in some weird European illustrations. So, this is a very beautiful design. This basket is meant to be held on your waist, and then you collect fruit and you put them inside the basket and they don't fall out. So, it's a very clever design. And imagine from here you have this beautiful it's a wild weed, and its leaf very often I have found that looks exactly like Congress grass, but it's not. Congress grass is not a vine, but you should check out the leaf. And the leaf is such that it's got multiple sections like these, and each of those sections has a beautiful structure. And then where those sections meet, there's this blank rounded space. And this allows for us to fold the leaf many times, and then also it in itself folds over. So you can create very complicated patterns. At some point, I will love to teach all of you this, but that's not going to happen today. So these folds allow this design to look very graceful, and anything that you put these patterns in, it's more than drawing, say, the wing of a bird. It's more than drawing a vine which has just the same number of leaves, the same shape of leaves throughout. So it adds enough interest and grace and variety and contrast, all with just one particular element continuously growing and also placed next to each other. So it's quite a lovely study. So in our case, I have just reduced the shapes to something similar, and to this we can always add maybe a structure like this and a hole or a circular joint. And then all the designs that we bring from this side, we will make them identical from both sides. So again, first things, if you were to do this in rough, consider making an oval shape and work out the design. With swirls, there is some order to swirls also. You can't just make swirls willy-nilly. Once you make a pattern like this, obviously you can't make another one like that. You shouldn't. But you can make one coming in the opposite direction. But you don't want to swirl it back into the same. So you make it like this. And then from the other side, you could have a swirl going like this. So whenever you have swirls going into each other, a rule of thumb is that all the swirls need to be of different size and they need to nestle. So you can have a swirl like this, but you have it nestle in such a way that it leaves the same amount of space throughout, as opposed to this is also a swirl, but you have trapped some negative space over here. So the eye will not flow, it will get stuck here. This is not wrong, but you must know what happens when lines are made a certain way. Then if you want your eye to move from one side to another, you will create a little bit of interest over here and add some thickness here. To this now, which is a very complex shape, how do I add the next shape? So I create another swirl which can have a different size. So I can make something that is smaller. If I make it the same size, then they will compete with each other. And you don't want that. Then you have direction. So one is swirling in one direction, the other one in another direction. If I want to add anything more to this, I should not add, I could easily go and do something like that, which is going to be like creating a confusing fountain here. But I can always add something here. But now with these two, maybe I don't want to have the same shape, so I'll make the shape slightly different. Okay, so that is how a lot of things in swirls have to be done. Now that you know it, you will be able to restrain yourself from going all over the place with the design on the back of this beetle. So let's make an elaborate swirl coming from somewhere in the middle and turning into each other itself, sorry. And then make the same twirl on the other side. This can be a little challenging, but work with it. Just look for the heights that you need to achieve, and that should be good. And if you're in doubt, just turn the book around and you will find the solution. Now there is a blank space on top over here, so we can easily take one little flourish on top.
Aditi, I
Yeah,
need to drop. I have a meeting now, so I'll catch up with
yeah,
them.
yes, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, happy
That's all
Diwali.
right. Then what will you eat at home?
Happy Diwali to all of you. Thank you.
All
Wish
right.
you the
Yeah,
same.
bye.
Bye.
Okay, now from this side we can bring a curve like this. And if we want to busy up this area over here in the center, we can throw in a leaf pattern over here. So just one like that, two like this. So in this pattern, we are now bringing in a little bit of what the bug originally had as well.
Adi, sorry, I'll need to drop out too. So
All
I'll,
right.
yeah. Thank you. Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali.
I'm actually traveling next week back in Bombay and then again. So I'm
Okay.
not sure. I think the next two classes I won't be around. Next two Tuesdays.
All right. Never
So I'll
mind.
catch up. Yeah.
The videos will be
Yes.
available so you can watch those.
All right. Bye. Happy
Okay,
Diwali.
bye.
Bye
Happy
bye.
Diwali. Okay. So now we're getting closer to our the bugs design itself. We can also throw in a few leaf patterns from here. And this itself, maybe we can curl upward a little bit. So wherever you have a curl, the convex part can be converted into an acanthus leaf. And a little bulbous shape on the tip. Don't leave the tips hanging. They need, if you bulk them up, they can look a little nicer too. And then finally, from this side, we can throw in some leaf pattern as well. So round it over here. Don't make too many of these because then it's no fun. And wherever you feel you want to put in some fillers, you can just put in some swirls like that. But make sure that there is adequate space for them on both sides, as in both sides of whatever object you're making them. And we can make these lines thicker just by making them to a double line. And from the top now, I'm just bringing simple lines over here, not too many complicated shapes. By the time we finish painting this, it will start looking pretty complicated. So we don't really need to add too many.
Aditi, how are you planning to paint this?
This you can paint gold and then black on top,
Okay.
or you can paint gold and black
With
around it.
okay.
Whatever you want, yeah.
Okay. I also need to go. So
Yeah, so do I actually.
we'll see
And
if I-
we are out of time. So I'm going to try and paint these and finish these off if I can.
Yes.
We have 2 weeks, so hopefully.
Here's my Harlequin.
Wow. Oh.
He's got weird pajamas and shoes.
Oh, how cute is that?
And this fellow I was painting, see the
Nice.
fleur de lis is coming.
Yes, very nice. I like that you put a shadow underneath already.
Yeah, you said about last time, remember?
Yes,
You
yes.
took that out, so I said, let me do that now.
Nice. How cute is that? Okay, let's see your
You
Shreya.
said, yeah, I want to see the other.
Oh,
Lovely.
beautiful, beautiful.
I think I bungled the lower limbs, but
That's okay. I think it's looking very nice.
very quirky.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Nice.
Jainita has just taken to the insects, huh?
Nita's got all her mathematical precision in her diamonds, which
Oh,
I did.
let's see. Oh my. Oh, wow. Beautiful. How lovely.
Okay, I'll have to run. Bye bye. Thank you.
Okay, bye everyone. Happy Diwali. I'll see you in 2 weeks now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi everyone,
Thank
happy
you.
Diwali.
Thank you.
Happy Diwali.
Thanks,
Bye.
Aditi.
Bye.